So Bungie just dropped a brand new developer insight for Codename Frontiers. This one goes into solo ops information. They've done a load of these before, which I've already made videos on, so you can find those on my channel. But this one dives into solo ops stuff, so let's just see what they have in store for us today. But before we get into it, as always, if you're going to enjoy this video, if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, I would very much appreciate it. And with all that said, now let's just dive in. So TLDR, solo ops are 10-minute missions that can be completed by single players or fire teams. They are low commitment options that still allow you to use challenge customization to make progress towards better gear. They are built for their experiences to stay fresh across repeated plays. Problem: over the last few years, we've built the promise of Destiny as a game where you can come together with other Guardians and enjoy the game together. We built a lot more match-made activities from Battlegrounds to Onslaught and rolled out features like Fireteam Finder to make it easier than ever to group up with other players. We've wanted our community to come together like never before, and that's great. Sometimes you just want to jump in, play for 10 to 20 minutes, feel like you're worth your time. Right now, the only options for doing so either put you in direct competition with other players, Crucible or Gambit, or can feel like you're in a race to the finish against your own fireteam members. Strikes and Battlegrounds. Activities best suited for solo players are time-consuming story missions, can take half an hour to more to complete. Lost sectors require you to get into the destination to play them, and jumping into multiplayer activities as a solo player, for example doing a dungeon, can be stressful and take even more time than the activity would with a fire team. We identify a gap in our offerings, short activities that lone players can take at their own pace. Okay. The solution: solo ops activities aim at shorter playtimes and manageable for solo players. They will be launched from the portal and have a target-based playtime of 10 minutes. Each solo ops activity emphasizes of the fun Destiny combat action game, presenting players with straightforward objectives that focus on gunplay. Solo op missions aren't intended to be intense tests of build crafting, prowess, or fun skill. Instead, we want them to focus on the joy of playing Destiny's action sandbox in a way that's easier to jump into and play in just a few moments. Okay, so I feel like this is more for like casual players really, more than the hardcore, and with Destiny Rising coming out, this might be a good kind of introduction to how to play Destiny, so you're not just throwing people immediately into the strike playlist where they're needing to catch up with kills. Kind of makes sense, although the reward scaling that I'll talk about later, this is going to be interesting. So reward scaling. So the ops will support scoring and challenge customization like many of our other activities. As such, they will allow players to make incremental progress towards better and more powerful gear, and support customizing the difficulty of the activity with a wide variety of modifiers. You'll still want to play well in solo ops activities. Your score will contribute to the quality of your loot, but we're trying to construct these missions so that getting a good score is a matter of moving, shooting, and looting rather than being determined by what loadout and build you bring into them. So this is kind of giving me like D1 style vibes of how things like Prison of Elders were, where it was just go into a place and shoot some stuff. Once again, like I said, probably going to be great for like newer players, but then they're going to need a much better new player experience if they want people to actually get into this style of content. This probably will help with that. But then let's move on to mission variability. So another goal of solo op is to create activities with higher variability between plays. Since you'll be playing these missions as a way of making progress towards better gear, trying to make sure they stay fresh longer and make them less predictable in what content you see. For example, at this time we're aiming to have each mission come with a variant for at least 2 combat factions, each one with a unique objective associated with it. Solo op missions will sometimes come with the optional goals that only present themselves once you're in the activity, like the presence of treasure goblins or passageways to secret rooms opening where they are normally closed. We're also scattering random treasure chests throughout the activity, and finding them will grant you bonus to your final score. One piece of activity tech that we've been working to build for these missions is a dynamic enemy spawning system. This system runs behind the scenes, monitoring how well you're doing, how long it's been since you've been in combat, and how close you are to getting to your objective, and then spawns squads of enemies when the system determines that you need to be challenged. Unlike our other activities, where enemies spawn cadence and locations are often very scripted, solo ops missions will spawn enemies at unpredictable times from places where you may not even expect them. I would like to see that in just base Destiny, to be honest. Like, just having enemies spawn in randomly in like a dungeon or a raid, that would just be really, really cool. Because currently it's just, okay, you find where enemies spawn and you just throw a grenade into those spawns until they're just completely done for. If this becomes a more just base thing that they add to the game, that'd be great. Hopefully they do that. Next up, visiting exciting locations. Since solo ops are part of the core game that is free to play for everyone, we also wanted to take advantage of the fact that across the game there are many locations that are either not used in free content or are underused despite being a fun place to play. A lot of beautiful, exciting spaces, play host to only a single story mission, and players have no reason to go back to those places outside of that mission. Some, like the Bolswurts area in EDZ, are currently entirely unused. These are awesome, unique Destiny spaces, and we think Solo Ops is a great venue for going back and visiting some of these places that may not have gotten as much attention as their craftsmanships deserve. Solo Ops missions will take you into spaces you might have visited before, but the new objectives and dynamic enemy spawning system help you to make an experience feel both fresh and familiar. For many players, solo op missions might be the first time you go to these locations, and we think that everyone should have a chance to experience these iconic spaces. Overall, we hope the solo ops missions will be a good activity for players who only have a short amount of time to play, prefer to play by themselves, or are looking for a lower intensity way to level in Destiny gameplay sandbox, as well as any combination of those three. Okay, so reusing old stuff that we don't explore very much, that's nice. Pairing that with the random enemy spawns and the variations on these missions, I could see this being quite cool. Definitely this is more focused towards newer players mainly. I don't know how this is going to be used in terms of getting new gear, because if this is the best new way of getting new gear, then people aren't going to be playing any of the other stuff that takes a much longer period of time. So this is probably going to be balanced into that equation. I'm guessing that it's not going to give you as much gear as other stuff like the Strike playlist or something. And at the moment, the Strike playlist doesn't give you really any good gear. So very interested to see how that stuff's going to be changed. Now then, let's move on to the FAQ. Can you only play them solo, or can they be played in a fire team? Solo ops activities will accommodate up to 3-player fire teams, because we never want to tell you that you can't play with your friends. We are working on a system to automatically scale up the difficulty of the encounters based on fire team size. However, if you want to play them with other people, fire team ops are going to offer the more efficient path to getting better gear. Okay, that's good. Will solo ops support matchmaking? No. If you want to play with other people, fire team ops is going to be the way to go. All solo ops include champions, banes, specific modifiers. We haven't locked down any specific set of modifiers that we're going to support in solo ops. We can't just use the same modifiers as, say, strikes, because we're aiming at a tight experience that solo players can enjoy, and we want to make sure the modifiers we allow don't push the mission away from that experience. We do plan to support banes, as we think they offer an exciting way to increase the variety of experiences you have across multiple plays. Okay, and that's it for this little article on solo ops. Very interesting stuff there. Obviously, no matchmaking is a choice. I do kind of feel like matchmaking could be nice for it, but then I do understand why they aren't doing matchmaking for this. Obviously, because it's called solo ops, so that just makes a lot more sense. And yeah, definitely seems like a more new player suited activity, which is good. Destiny needs ways of getting newer players interested in the game, and throwing them into activities where people are just speedrunning strikes that they've done over and over isn't probably the best way of doing so. So these solo ops definitely going to be more focused towards those. I hope that when they state that this is going to be a great place for getting new gear, I hope that this isn't going to become like the best place to go and get new gear, or like the fastest place to go and get new gear, because obviously if these solo ops can be done really, really quickly and you get really, really good gear from them, not many people are going to be doing other stuff in order to get good gear. So I'm hoping that that's weighed in into other modifiers or other game modes as well. But yeah, interesting stuff. If you want to read anything on this for yourself, I'll have links in the description. But that's it from me today on this Solo Ops Developer Insight for Frontiers. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next one.